Today we're making these nourishing but very affordable creamy green lentils with herby roast potatoes to scoop them up with. Indulgent food is often full of butter and cream, but using the right cooking methods and healthy plant-based ingredients, you can get the same result, if not better. If you're new here, my name is George. I've been a chef for 10 years and I post weekly cooking videos, so be sure to stick around. Let's start with some mise en place. So we're going to prepare this leek first. Just going to remove the bottom and the top dry part. Don't need to take too much off though. And then when you're preparing vegetables, you want to make it more manageable. So we're going to cut it in half and then cut these into half as well. These darker outer leaves are perfectly fine to eat. They just need slightly longer cooking. And since we're making stewed lentils, they'll have plenty of time to cook down into the dish. The dark outer leaves also have so much flavor and nutrients in them. So definitely do not discard them. I'm slicing these leeks quite thinly as I want them to really cook down into the stew and become almost like meltingly soft. Been eating a lot of leek recently as they are currently in season, so they're affordable and really flavoursome. And we'll just give them a wash as they can be quite dirty. I'm using 3 fairly chunky cloves of garlic, and to get the skin off, easiest way is to just give it a quick crush, and then it'll just come right off really easily. Crushing the garlic means that when you go to slice it, it's going to make mincing it even easier because it's already partially broken down. It takes no time at all. We can just do a few cross chops and it's ready to go. I've got some lovely fresh rosemary from the garden, which is actually starting to flower, which is absolutely fine. It's still perfectly edible. You can use those flowers for garnish, or I'm just going to chop them up and put them into the stew. And to chop herbs, you just want to bundle them up really tightly. It's a little bit harder with rosemary because it's quite a sturdy herb. And then just chop through. Just smells so floral and sort of piney almost. It's always a good idea to give your lentils a nice rinse, just to get rid of any dust and excess starch. Sometimes you can get small little stones in there, but personally, I've never had this issue, or I've just eaten them and not really realized. Once you've preheated your pan, add a couple tablespoons of olive oil, followed by the leek. I'm also going to add in the fresh rosemary, 1 bay leaf, and some dried thyme. You can add a nice pinch of salt in now as well to really help soften and season the leeks. Fine leek benefits from being cooked slowly and gently, so that it gets lovely and soft and releases its natural sweetness. Seeing as we have it on quite a low temperature, I'm going to add in the garlic now. We don't have to worry about it burning. And then once the leek is lovely and buttery and soft, we can add in the vegetable stock. Followed by the lentils. I'm keeping it quite simple today, just adding leek as the main vegetable, but you could add carrot, celery, mushrooms could be nice. We're just going to bring this to a simmer first. Pop a lid on and let that cook for around 35 to 40 minutes.
Poppy, I'm not sure Mitzi wants to play at the moment. Good girl.
While that stew simmers away, we're going to get the potatoes on. And you want to start potatoes in cold water to ensure they cook evenly and so that the outside doesn't cook before the center. And we'll add about a teaspoon of salt to the water so that they get really nice and seasoned within. We're parboiling these before we roast them. Okay, so the potatoes are just about ready. You can kind of feel when you squeeze them that they are starting to give way, and they're very hot. So I'm just going to drain them off and let them steam dry for a few minutes. So I've let these potatoes cool and dry off a little bit, and then I'm just going to sort of crush them up with my hands. They're literally sort of exploding as I push down on them. You could use a potato masher if you wanted to. Really nice, soft and buttery baby potatoes here. These would be delicious just like this, maybe with some vegan butter and parsley on them. But we are going to roast them until crispy, so we're going to add a couple tablespoons of olive oil and a couple teaspoons of dried thyme and dried oregano. You can use whichever dried herbs that you've got. A little bit of salt. We've already cooked them in salty water, so I'm not going to add too much. And a good grating of black pepper. And then just give them a toss to coat. And I'm going to air fry them, but you can do them on a baking tray. That will work absolutely perfectly. Just a bit quicker in the air fryer. So spread them out and we're going to air fry them until really lovely and crispy. Full method will be in the description for cooking times. And the stewed lentils are also nearly there. They're lovely and soft, but they've got a slight little bite left in them. Now they're really well stewed now, but the dish doesn't quite have the sort of body that I want it to have. So now we're going to take it from just nicely stewed lentils to creamy and indulgent lentils. So into this blender, we're going to add about 1/3 of the stewed lentils. If you want it more creamy, you could add half the lentils, or less creamy, add 1/4. Then we're going to add some silken tofu. You could use regular tofu, but you'll just need to use slightly less. Then we're breaking out the big boy tub of nutritional yeast and adding in a couple tablespoons for that lovely cheesy and nutty flavor and just sort of savory depth of flavor. Then a small teaspoon of mustard, Dijon mustard. Mustard goes really well with the pepperiness of the lentils. Some lemon juice to just brighten the dish and add another layer of flavor. And finally, a little white miso for that lovely umami and salty goodness. And then we're just going to blend that up and add it back into the lentils. You could also use a food processor or a stick blender, and then just add that back into your lentils. I think I might have ended up doing about half the lentils, so this is going to be extra creamy. I'd usually only do about 1/3. I love to use lots of fresh herbs in my cooking, as I think they have the biggest return on investment in terms of improving the flavor of a dish. I actually just filmed a video for my Patreon page about the difference between fresh and dried herbs, so be sure to become a member if you aren't already. And then for a finishing touch, as it is a little bit beige, we're going to add some fresh parsley, just finely chopped. And we're going to add in some fresh spinach. You can use frozen if you want as well. And just let that wilt into the lentils. And there you go, that is your creamy French style green lentils. You could of course use puy lentils or brown lentils. Any sort of firm lentil will do. I wouldn't go for red lentils though, as they'll be a bit too mushy. This is ready to be mopped up with some lovely roasted herby potatoes. It'd also be really nice with some vegan sausages and some mashed potato, that's for sure. The potatoes are essentially cooked, so we're just trying to get them lovely and crispy in the oven or the air fryer. It may not be the most beautiful coloured dish, but it is absolutely delicious and nourishing. Creamy, nutty, hearty, lovely, fluffy and crispy potatoes. You get such a lovely contrast between the creamy sauce and then those peppery and nutty lentils. A little bit of heat from the mustard, cheesiness from that nutritional yeast. That is super tasty. And those crispy potatoes are the perfect accompaniment. It would also be delicious with a bit of crusty sourdough for a really nice lunch. For another hearty stew recipe, check out this video.